One rainy night, their worlds collided inside a diner. What happened next wasn't just a dance step. It was a step that shook the walls of privilege, revealed the depth of black struggles, and transformed lives forever. They say money can buy everything. But what if the one thing a billionaire's son needed was something money could never buy? Love, courage, and a chance to dance. This is the story of Richard Coleman, one of New York's richest men. His son Ethan, born with a disability that made him believe he would never stand tall, let alone dance, and Maya Johnson, a struggling black waitress who carried the scars of poverty, racism, and broken dreams. The diner was almost empty that Thursday night. Rain lashed against the windows, cars hissed across wet streets, and neon lights flickered on the cracked signboard. Brooklyn Diner, open late. Maya Johnson wiped down the counter with slow, tired hands. She was used to double shifts, used to ignoring the ache in her back, used to the dismissive looks from people who saw her only as a black waitress. It was a struggle she had lived her entire life, working harder, smiling brighter, just to earn half the respect others got freely. Another night, another shift, she whispered to herself. But tonight, fate had other plans. The bell above the door jingled. In walked a man in a dark tailored suit, expensive, sleek, the kind Maya had only ever seen on billboards. Beside him, a boy in a wheelchair, no older than 12, with curious eyes and a gentle smile. The man's presence filled the room instantly. Cold, powerful, controlled, the kind of aura that made people move aside without a word. He glanced around with mild irritation, as though even the air here wasn't good enough for him. Maya straightened her apron. "Good evening. Table for two." He nodded curtly, not bothering with a smile. They sat. The boy's wheelchair squeaked softly as Maya adjusted the chair for him. "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked warmly. "Ethan," the boy replied. His voice was soft, but his eyes lit up at her kindness. Maya turned to the man. "And you, sir?" "Richard." "Richard Coleman," he answered flatly, his gaze already on his phone. Maya froze inside. Coleman? Everyone in Brooklyn knew that name. Richard Coleman wasn't just rich. He was billionaire rich. His empire stretched from hotels to finance, and his reputation for being heartless was as famous as his fortune. She forced a polite smile. "What can I get for you tonight?" Ethan looked at the menu, but then leaned forward, whispering, "Do you ever have music here?" Maya chuckled. "Sometimes the radio." Ethan's eyes sparkled. "I love music. I wish I could dance like other kids." The words pierced Maya's heart. She knelt beside him. "Sweetheart, dancing isn't about how your legs move. It's about how your heart feels the rhythm." Richard's cold voice cut in. "He doesn't need false hope. Just bring us food." Maya's jaw tightened. She had seen this before. The way wealthy men dismissed dreams, especially the dreams of those they considered weaker. And she recognized Ethan's silence too. It was the silence of a child who had been told, "You can't," too many times. But Maya had lived through struggles where the world told her, "You can't," simply because she was black, because she was poor, because she was a girl with ambition. She knew the sting of doors slammed shut, and she wasn't about to let another innocent soul believe those lies. When the food arrived, Maya noticed Ethan tapping his fingers to a faint tune playing from the kitchen radio. A smile tugged at her lips. "Hold on," she said, and disappeared into the back. Moments later, she returned with a clean floor space, cleared by pushing aside a few chairs. "Come on, Ethan," she said. "Let me show you something." Richard looked up sharply. "Waitress." But Ethan's eyes were wide, hopeful. Maya knelt in front of his wheelchair. "You trust me?" He nodded eagerly. She guided his hands to hers, swaying gently to the rhythm. "Feel the beat. Don't worry about steps. Just let your heart move." Ethan laughed, a sound so pure it turned heads. He swayed, clapped, even lifted his arms with joy. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't just a boy in a wheelchair. He was a boy dancing. Richard watched, frozen. Something in his chest tightened, something he hadn't felt in years. But he pushed it down. "Enough," he said harshly, standing. "We're leaving." Ethan's smile faded. Maya straightened, anger burning in her chest. "You should be proud. Your son just danced. He deserves joy, not chains." Richard's eyes narrowed. You don't know anything about my son. Or me. He tossed cash on the table, far more than the bill, and turned the wheelchair toward the door. Ethan glanced back at Maya, eyes pleading, before the rain swallowed them outside. Maya stood still, heart pounding. Something told her this was not the last time their worlds would collide. And she was right. Maya has ignited a spark in Ethan, but Richard Coleman won't let go of his control easily. What Maya doesn't know yet is that helping this boy will drag her back in her own painful past of black struggles and force the billionaire to face truths he's been running from. The night after Richard and Ethan left the diner, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay awake in her small, dimly lit apartment, the sound of sirens echoing from the streets outside. She should have been exhausted after her double shift, but her mind kept replaying the image of Ethan's laughter, the way his eyes had lit up as he moved to the music, even if just for a few seconds. It had been pure, unfiltered joy. And then the image of his father, Richard Coleman, shutting it down with a single cold command. Maya clenched her fists under the thin blanket. Why do people with power always think they can decide what happiness someone else is allowed to have? For her, this wasn't just about Ethan. It was about every dream she had lost because society told her, you can't, not you, not a black girl from Brooklyn. 2 days later, the bell above the diner door rang again. Maya glanced up, and her breath caught. Ethan was there. His wheelchair was wet from the drizzle outside, his smile tentative but eager. Behind him stood Richard, impeccable as always in a gray suit, but his expression unreadable. Maya forced herself to stay calm. "Welcome back," she said, her voice steady. "Same table." Richard gave a curt nod. Ethan's eyes darted toward her hopefully, as though asking, "Will you dance with me again?" They ordered silently. Richard buried himself in his phone, but Ethan whispered when his father wasn't looking. "Maya, can we try again?" The dance. Maya's heart melted. She glanced at Richard, who was distracted with a business call, and leaned close. "If you want it, we'll make it happen." When the food came, Maya noticed Ethan humming softly. This time, instead of hiding it, she wheeled him toward the open floor space. "Waitress!" Richard's sharp voice cut through again. But Ethan raised his chin. "Dad, please. Just once." Richard's jaw tightened. He looked at his son, the boy who had been through endless surgeries, physical therapy, nights of crying. Ethan's requests were rare. And now, for the first time in years, Richard saw something different in his son's eyes: determination. After a long silence, Richard muttered, "Fine. 1 minute." Maya's heart raced. She turned on the old radio in the kitchen, a soft jazz tune filling the room. She faced Ethan, smiling. "Ready?" He nodded eagerly. She guided his arms up, swaying gently with him. His chair rolled forward back in small movements, but the rhythm was there. She clapped with him, teaching him to count the beats. His laughter rang out again, brighter than before. Other diners glanced over, smiling. A few even clapped along. Maya whispered, "See? You don't need legs to feel the music. You already have rhythm inside you." Ethan's face glowed. "I'm dancing." Richard stared. For the first time in years, he didn't see his son as broken. He saw him as alive. But the moment ended quickly. Richard stood, his voice clipped. "That's enough." Ethan's smile faded, but Maya didn't back down. "Mr. Coleman, with all due respect, your son is happier in these 5 minutes than I've seen in most kids all week. Why deny him that?" Richard's eyes hardened. "Because happiness doesn't cure reality. You think dance will erase surgeries? You think joy will change what the world sees when they look at him?" Maya stepped closer, her voice low but fierce. "I know exactly what the world sees when it looks at someone different. When it looks at someone black, poor, from the wrong neighborhood. I know what it's like to be underestimated, dismissed, told you don't belong. But I also know this: joy is survival. And you're trying to take that from him." For the first time, Richard faltered. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. His grip on the back of Ethan's wheelchair tightened. Ethan looked up at Maya, whispering, "Thank you." Later that night, after Richard paid and they were about to leave, Maya slipped Ethan a small folded note. It read, "Dance class, Saturdays, Community Center on 5th Street. Come if you want to learn more." Ethan's eyes widened. He quickly tucked the note into his pocket before his father could see. As they left the diner, Maya thought it was over, that maybe Richard would forbid Ethan from ever coming back. But the very next Saturday morning, as sunlight streamed through the dusty windows of the community center, the door creaked open. There he was, Ethan, wheeling himself inside, a grin stretching ear to ear. Behind him, surprisingly, stood Richard, arms crossed, face like stone. "Don't make me regret this," Richard muttered. Maya's heart pounded. She hadn't expected them to actually come. She greeted Ethan warmly, showing him the mirrors, the wooden floors, the speakers. "This is where the real magic begins," she whispered. But what none of them knew was that this small decision, Ethan stepping into a dance class, was about to unravel truths from Maya's past, break through Richard's walls, and set in motion a change none of them could stop. Ethan has joined Maya's class, with Richard reluctantly watching. But the community center will bring back ghosts from Maya's past, her lost dreams, her struggles as a black woman fighting for a place in the dance world. And soon, those truths will collide with Richard's secrets. The community center smelled of old wood and memories. The mirrors lining the wall were cracked in places, and the floorboards squeaked under pressure. Yet to Ethan, it was magical. For the first time, he wasn't just a boy in a wheelchair. He was a student in a dance class. Maya bent down, adjusting the height of the speakers. "All right, Ethan. Today, we don't just listen to music. We become the music." Ethan grinned. Richard, standing stiffly near the wall, frowned but said nothing. As the music began, Maya clapped the rhythm, teaching Ethan how to roll forward, back, side to side. The boy caught on quickly, laughter bubbling out of him. Other kids in the room, a girl with crutches, a boy with a stutter, joined in. This wasn't a traditional class. It was a sanctuary. Richard watched, his eyes narrowing as he noticed the mix of kids. They weren't wealthy. They weren't polished. They were kids society often overlooked, disabled, poor, black, Latino, immigrant. And yet, here they were, dancing like their lives depended on it. For a moment, he almost smiled. Almost. When the class ended, Ethan rolled over to practice by himself. Maya walked to Richard. "You didn't stop him this time," she said softly. Richard crossed his arms. "It's harmless here. But dance won't change the world he has to live in." Maya's eyes darkened. "That's where you're wrong. Dance saved me, at least for a while." Richard raised an eyebrow. "Saved you? You're a waitress, teaching in a broken-down hall. Doesn't look much like salvation." The words stung, but Maya lifted her chin. "You see what I am now. You don't know where I've been." Richard leaned back against the wall. "Then tell me." Maya hesitated. Part of her wanted to stay silent. Why should she bear her scars to a man who had everything she'd been denied? But then she looked at Ethan, so hungry for freedom, and she knew her story mattered. "I grew up a few blocks from here," Maya began, her voice steady but heavy. "Single mother, 3 jobs, and me, the little black girl who loved to dance. I wasn't supposed to dream, but I did anyway." She stared at the floor, remembering. Every morning before school, I'd practice in the alley behind our apartment, using broken glass as a mirror. I saved every dollar I earned babysitting just to afford 1 pair of secondhand ballet shoes. People laughed. Black girls don't become ballerinas. Teachers told me to focus on realistic goals. But I pushed harder. Her voice cracked. At 17, I finally got noticed. A scholarship audition for the National Dance Foundation. My one shot out. I poured everything into it, my sweat, my soul. And for a moment, I thought I'd made it. I thought they'd see me. She swallowed hard. But they didn't. They gave the scholarship to someone else. A girl with connections, lighter skin, a family name that mattered. I was told I had raw talent, but not the right background. Richard shifted uncomfortably. "That's racism." Maya cut him off. Her eyes burned. "Let's call it what it was. They didn't want a poor black girl representing them. So my dream died before it even began. I went back to scrubbing tables, waiting on people who wouldn't even look me in the eye. People like you." Silence fell between them. Unbeknownst to them, Ethan had wheeled closer, listening. His young face twisted with shock. "Maya, that's not fair." Maya smiled sadly, kneeling by him. "Life isn't fair, sweetheart. but it doesn't mean you stop fighting. Ethan's small hand gripped hers. Then I'll fight too. I'll dance for both of us. Her throat tightened, and for a moment, tears blurred her vision. Richard looked away, his jaw tense. That evening, after class, Richard lingered as Ethan chatted with the other kids. His gaze lingered on the faded posters taped to the wall. Old announcements for dance scholarships, charity galas, events from decades past. One poster caught his eye: National Dance Foundation, annual scholarship auditions. His chest tightened. He remembered that year. He remembered the pile of applications on his desk. Back then, he had been a bored donor, influencing decisions. And yes, there had been a black girl, talented, raw, desperate. Was it her? The memory haunted him. At the time, he dismissed her. Too rough. Not the right image. He had voted against her. Now, standing in the same hall, watching her nurture his son, he felt the weight of that decision pressing down like a stone. Richard's hand trembled slightly as he adjusted his cufflink. He prayed she would never know. Maya has revealed her painful past of black struggles, unaware that Richard himself once had a hand in crushing her dreams. The truth is beginning to the weeks that followed were nothing short of miraculous for Ethan. Once a shy boy who barely spoke outside the walls of his home, he now hummed songs, clapped to rhythms, and even asked to lead simple routines. His body might have been limited, but his spirit soared. Maya often guided him by placing her hand gently on his shoulder, teaching him how to feel the beat. Ethan responded with fierce determination. When he failed, he laughed. When he succeeded, he lit up the room. If this story touched your heart, thumbs up this video to show your support. Comment below which part of the story inspired you the most. Share this video with friends and family to spread hope. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more real-life emotional stories. Remember, small acts of kindness can create big changes.